Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Rimsha Farhan. I am host and founder of our Little Bubble, which is a private Facebook community for women. And here we are. Today is first of Ramadan, and I'm so glad. I'm super excited that I am going to wish you Ramadan Kareem to all of you from my family to yours. And we wish and we believe that this Ramadan, everything may pass on time. We do things on time. We prayers on time, and this Ramadan we will, enjoy all the festivities and all the barakah, and every ibadat will be accepted. So, in this Ramadan, we have started our series, which is called Ramadan Talks. And in that Ramadan Talks, we have our segment, which is called Special Guest Day. And in that special guest day, I have a special person. So, for her introduction, I would like to tell you in our language, of course, लाइफ में हमें बहुत सारे लोग मिलते हैं, लेकिन हम उनसे मिलते तो हैं मगर वो मुतासर हमें बहुत कम करते हैं। तो कुछ ऐसे लोग भी होते हैं जो हमारे दिल को उस वक़्त छू जाते हैं जब हमें ये पता चलता है कि वो दायरे इस्लाम में, दीन इस्लाम में अपनी रिसर्च से और अपनी इनसाइट से जो है वो दाखिल हुए हैं। And here she is. She is Nicole Al Hekma. She is CEO and founder of Muslim Women's Leadership Academy. She is NLP practitioner. She is, mashallah, life coach. She has done masters in Islamic studies and taken certification from Islamic psychology. She has worked at Bank of Australia, and I forgot to mention that she is from Perth, Australia. So let's welcome her. Let's introduce into our group. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for inviting me onto this. Ramadan Kareem, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here with you today, to be able to be part of your little bubble. So it's very exciting. So thank you for inviting
That's
me.
great. That's great. I'm so happy. And a part of all of your accomplishments, the thing which has inspired me a lot as a Muslim person, as a woman, that you have accepted this invitation of Deen Islam by your own wisdom, by your own, intuition, and by your own research. So I would really interested. I was always curious, and this session is really really special to me and to all my viewers, because we all wanted to know that what was that first thing which attract you as a person, and what was that first sign, we may say, that you thought that it is something unusual and I should go for it, I should listen to this, my inner voice. So what was that?
Yeah, it's very surprising when I look back because um, I for a long time my life was without Islam at all, and so I never really imagined if I saw myself, like I've been Muslim now, alhamdulillah, for 21 years. But if I look back 22 years, I don't think I could ever have imagined that what I would have taken this journey. But what is really interesting when I look back on my journey is that Islam has actually been there for a lot of my life. So I grew up from the time I was 5 until the time I was 10. I lived on a small island which was called Christmas Island, which is off the coast of, it belongs to Australia. It's off the coast of Western Australia, just south of Indonesia. And it was quite a multicultural little community. There was only about 2,000 people there in total, but there was a big Malaysian Muslim community. So some of my earliest memories, subhanallah, is of Ramadan, actually,
Oh,
because it was such a small community. So we were very involved in each other's cultural and religious practices. And my dad was a person, he was always very open to different religions and understanding different things, and he made lots of different friends. And so when it was Ramadan and then again in Eid, we would get invited for iftar and invited to the Eid celebrations. And I had friends who were Muslims, but it didn't really, I didn't really differentiate at that time. Just different people did different things. But when I think about being down in their apartments, and there was the mosque and the adhan, and we would go down to the mosque as well. And so I got used to that when I was a very small child. But it was it was just there. It wasn't something to do with me, but I was aware of it. At the same time, all I really knew was that Muslims prayed 5 times a day, and I knew about the fast because it was a big deal, obviously, and it
yeah.
was. And even when I think back on that time, it was a time of celebration and a very positive feeling because it was
Mm.
associated with those celebrations of Ramadan
Mm.
and of Eid. So that
Any
was
so I think this is a very beautiful memory. And Nicole, are, we are Muslims, but somehow we all are very disturbed in our life. That there's no any difference. Some person who is just attracted to Islam, who means after half of our life, and some person who is by birth in Islam. But we all are, anxious and meaning the purpose of our life. So would you like to mention that what enforce you in your journey, that when life knocks you down and when life put you down, so how do you enforce yourself back to it, and what is that spirit which makes you feel motivated again on that journey?
so. I talked about my first exposure to Islam. When I decided that I would actually convert to Islam was after I had done a lot of traveling. So I had traveled, I was living in Hong Kong, but then I decided to travel and I traveled through a lot of different countries. But when I got to India, Iran, Turkey, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, I started like looking at Islam and studying Islam. But the thing that made me want to study it was in a lot of those countries, I looked at the people there and there seemed to be something within them, within their hearts, something solid, something that gave them hope and something that was just deep within them. And I wanted to know, what is that? And so I started to study Islam because that was the countries and that was the religion of these people. And I just saw this nur in them. And I was like, what have they got? So I guess that I lived in Egypt for a while. I got married in Egypt, but then I went back to Australia. And I guess that I got back into the normal life in Australia. And from an Islamic point of view, I didn't really learn a lot. So I was practicing Islam, I was praying, I was fasting, I was doing all the things, but I wasn't really connected to the religion from a spiritual and from a heart and soul perspective. So when I realized that, I thought back to those times when I was traveling and I thought back to the people that I looked at and what I saw within them. And I thought to myself, well, that's why I wanted to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why I wanted to be Muslim. So what do I need to do in my own life? So I started looking more into the spiritual side, into the, how do we connect from, psychology is not just our mental and our physical, it's also the spiritual. So how do we bring them all together? How do we bring worship into every single part of our lives? Islam is obviously how we practice our religion and we want to practice it perfectly. But what is worship? Worship is every single thing that we do. If we're bathing our children, if we're cooking our dinner, if we're going to work, if we're going to the shopping center, it's being that person who has that knowledge of and that character within us. So once I started thinking more about that, I started thinking, how do I make sure that Islam is not something that I do. It's exactly who I am. And I'm thinking about it in every single perspective. How am I pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How am I doing the right things? And that really helped me because when I then came upon difficult situations, whereas previously I would have lost my temper or I would have become very emotional and upset. Not that that completely went away, but when I was feeling like that, I was thinking, okay, I have everything. I have everything I need because I have Islam. So then I would start looking, how can I react? How can I started looking a lot into what are my values? And I know if people are in the workforce, you go through a process as part of like management or leadership. What are your values? How do you apply that? But I really looked at that from an Islamic perspective and said, okay, these are my values. And how is that going to mean then that I act in these situations? And so when these situations arose, I was very comfortable with reacting to those values, even when I knew that people would not like my reaction. And that's an important
Oh,
thing because often we worry about what people will think
how
about
people
how we
react.
act.
Hmm.
But because I was firm in myself and I
Hmm.
knew was acting in accordance with Islamic principles,
Mm,
I was very strong and comfortable with making those
mm,
decisions. Um,
mm.
and yeah, and what was very interesting to
Yeah.
me was that once I gained that confidence,
Mm,
people actually began to respect that behavior more. Because
mm.
previously I might have been, oh, you know, it's like,
Confused.
have you
Yeah.
seen this? Yeah. And so
Yeah.
people would go, oh, there's a gap, I can get in there. But if I was like,
Exactly.
no, this is me and this is
Mm,
how I act and I do not
mm, mm,
accept this, people kind of
mm,
go, oh, okay. And
mm,
and so you
mm.
become then
And they started
more
accepting you.
confident.
More as a person, as a, as an individual person who has her own choices regarding life, regarding her decisions, and regarding her deen, most of all. Nicole, would you like to tell me that what is success means to you? Is it because we all are
So
running
it's,
behind it somewhere? We
yeah,
are running behind
exactly.
fame. We are running behind money in this life. So, what is the real essence of?
So to me, success is whatever you want it to be, right? So for me, my career has always been important to me. So from a career perspective, because and I've thought about why this is for me, it's because I love knowledge. And if I'm successful in
Mm,
my career, it means that I've been successful in both attaining and being able
mm,
to share with other people knowledge for their benefit,
mm,
which is now that I've started up the Muslim Women's Leadership
mm,
Academy, is one of the things that I want to do, is to be able to bring my knowledge both from a
mm,
corporate perspective, but also from an Islamic perspective to women, to Muslim women around the world.
mm,
So success for me is being able to benefit others ultimately, and whether that be that you know, financially, like I I'm not ashamed to say that I would like to be successful financially, because that means that I can give to others, you
mm,
know. So if I'm successful, one, it means that I've helped other women. So
mm.
that's the first thing.
And
Then if there's
once
financial reward, I can share
mm,
with others as well. So I think
we
that
can do
that's
charity more, we can,
exactly.
bring more into this journey, or
But
whatever we can say, in, in teaching others, in helping others, in motivating others.
yeah, but ultimately, what I see success, and there can be different things along the way, and that's like why it's
Mm,
whatever's important to you. But ultimately, my success is pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
mm.
So
True.
as
Beautiful
so with
answer.
whatever
Beautiful.
I do, it depends on your intent, right? So if I say that I
Mm,
want to be successful in my career, and the reason
mm,
for that is because I want people to think that I'm amazing and that I want to
mm,
be powerful, and well, this is
mm,
the wrong intention. But if I want to
mm,
have the same result, and that's so that I
mm,
can be showing other Muslim women
mm,
what's possible for them and
mm,
teaching them what I've learned so that they can also be
mm.
successful, then that's a
Successful.
different
Yeah.
intent. So ultimately, for me, the
Mm,
success is, am I at when it's time for me to be judged, will I be able to stand in front of Allah, and will I be
mm,
able to show that the things that I've done have been for the right intent, which is to serve Him.
mm.
And I think to me that's the
Amazing,
ultimate
amazing,
success.
beautiful answer. I was thinking that maybe I have asked both things, similar things to you on wrong timings, but I'm still surprised to, know your answers. That we have, you are such personality which we are going to learn many things from you, because there should be a door open in every person's heart to learn new things.
Can I just add
Sorry.
one thing as well? Is when
Mhm.
you said about people learning from me, and inshallah, people can learn from the things that I've learned. But the women that I speak to, and this is something that I really want to get across to everybody, every single woman that I speak to is amazing, and sometimes, a lot of
Mm,
the time, they don't know that, and I learn
mm,
probably more from them than they learn from me. But people don't realize what's in them, and so that's one of the things that I
exactly.
hope to be able to show them,
Mm,
because, inshallah, like I said, I can show people the way
mm,
rather than teach them. But I
mm.
learn and I
Mm,
gain so much more from
mm.
them.
Together
Alhamdulillah.
we learn more when we sit together, when we started a discussion. we learn a lot from each other, like our in between our mind and between our heart. Because whenever when we cut, we take a good haircut, we take good hair treatment, we so wanted to show it to the world. And
Yeah.
there it's a battle that how can enforce, because I am not a hijab person, but I am learning more towards it. And thoughts, how your thoughts on it then, when you have started hijab, so how did you feel, because you're
So
living in
I,
western world?
yeah, so I decided to wear hijab from the first time that I converted to Islam. And I'm glad that I made that decision because I think that if I hadn't, it may have been very difficult. But because I decided, okay, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to convert to Islam, I decided that it had to be a full step, not a half step. So for me, it was about that commitment to Islam. And certainly it was very difficult at the beginning. My family did not like
I
it at
know.
all. My friends
Mm,
did not like it at all. It was a big separator between that. But alhamdulillah, because Allah knows everything and everything happens for the best reasons, right? And I can see that now.
mm,
But for me, putting on my hijab every day, especially when I didn't want to, was a reminder to myself of my commitment to Allah. That I wasn't doing it because I thought I looked nice in it. I wasn't doing it for any reason, not to please any
mm.
single person,
Anyone.
only to
Mm,
please Allah. And so every day when I put on
mm.
my hijab, that's what I'm doing, is I'm recommitting myself and reminding myself that this is why I'm doing it.
Wow.
Alhamdulillah.
Again, beautiful answer again. So now coming towards something else, something materialistic. That how you want to share some tips on self control. How do we control ourselves when we are getting angry? When there are so many situations, like Ramzan just I have started, and when we used to start fasting. So there are lots of things happening around us which makes us angry. Of course, keep our self control.
For me, it's just with gratitude. So, they
Hmm.
say that Islam is a religion of shukr and sabr, right? So
Mm.
it's
Sabr and
gratitude
shukr.
and patience.
Mm.
And it's really just recognizing how fortunate we are, one, to have Islam. Allah
Mashallah.
Allah says
Alhamdulillah.
in Quran that, other things are for other reasons, but Ramadan is for him. So it's remembering that why we're doing it. It's like me
Mm.
putting on the hijab and saying I'm doing it for
Mm.
Allah, but we know that it's
It's
for
like an
Allah.
annual reminder for every
Yeah.
soul.
Exactly. And so even
Mm.
people they don't pray, they don't wear hijab, they don't do lots of things, but in
Mm.
Ramadan, so many people come back and give themselves a
Everyone
fresh
starts
start.
doing it. Yeah.
So it's about
Coming
having
back on track.
gratitude. I don't
Mm.
know, we get up in our family, we get up and we have suhoor together. I cook something. It's not
Mm.
very
Mm.
it's like I make pancakes or waffles, it's not something that's very cultural, but that's what we do in our
Mm.
house. And so the family is together. So we
But
start
but that's a
and then
culture.
we
Every region has their own cultural food habits. So it's okay.
I think our house has its own culture rather than the region, but that's that's it. So we do that and just being grateful for having everyone. And then of course we all pray Fajr together and read Quran. And so it's beautiful. So it's having that gratitude
Mm.
and bringing that gratitude through the day.
Mm.
And one of the important practices that I've learnt is that sometimes you can't feel great. You just don't feel grateful. Like you should,
Mm.
but you can't feel
Mm.
it.
But
And
you
it's
can.
then
Mm.
an exercise that I do is thinking about, okay, I don't feel grateful now, but
Mm.
what was a time that I did feel grateful? And then to really just
Mm.
feel into that. So I remember that, okay,
Mm.
last week this thing happened and like my
Mm.
heart was so full and I remember that feeling. And then I bring
Mm.
that feeling into now because it's
Mm.
impossible to be angry, to be
Mm.
stressed when you've got that absolute feeling of real gratitude. And that's one of the
Mm.
things, as Muslims we say all the time alhamdulillah, but a lot of people they don't feel that alhamdulillah, so
I
it's
have
about
actually
absolutely feeling it.
I have actually note this practice down. I have actually note this exercise because this is a much needy exercise we all should do. that whenever we feel not good, because I also might feel that not every day is good, not every day is perfectly balanced. So there are
Mm.
imbalance, imperfections in ourselves, in our days, in our routine. So there I think this practice is amazing, that whatever we should do, we should remind what best we have done, what great thing we have, got in last week, in last year, in last month. So this is a beautiful practice, Nicole. Thank you so much for giving this tip, and I think it's a beautiful tip. So now, as we are reaching to the end of this conversation, but I don't want to end it, my last question is, what is that one message you want to give to every woman, every woman?
One message would be, one thing I've thought about a lot is that it says, there's something in Quran and I can't remember exactly, but it talks about every single individual person having their own fingerprint. Like we are all completely unique. And I think we spend a lot of time trying to compare ourselves to other people and think I should be more like that
Mm,
person, I should be more like that person. But what I would like
mm,
everybody to remember is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created every single human being perfectly as they are.
mm,
So
mm,
job and how your job as a human being is to worship
mm,
Allah in being excellent at who you are. So find your thing, work
mm,
hard towards the thing that you are the best at, and just keep that focus towards what is my objective. My objective, inshallah, is Jannah, and I'm going to
mm,
work being me, not looking at everybody around me, not
mm,
just be the best that I can be. And that's
mm,
really, it's quite a simple message, but it's
mm,
it's it's very difficult. And I think if people can do
mm,
that, remember that you were created exactly who you are and how you are on purpose by the
mm.
greatest of
Yeah, we are,
creators.
of course, amazing message. We are blessed differently, and we have to be the best version of ourselves. So this was a beautiful conversation. Allah bless you, Nicole. And I think I must say that you are one of inspiring women of the month,
Oh,
which we have just celebrated. So keep on
Jazakallah.
it, keep doing right things, keep this spirit alive. Happy Ramadan Kareem to your.
Alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.